Good day, everyone. My name is Marjoel Galvante, and I'm here to discuss the part of being informal and aiming for clarity in writing for radio in Module 12. Our reference for this discussion will be in Module 10. Now, to start off our presentation, let me guide you through our objectives. Number one, learn about the principles of clear and effective writing for radio. Number two, understand the different aspects of informality and clarity for radio listeners. Number three, apply the learnings in radio writing using the informal and clear principles effectively. Now let's give you a summary of what we've discussed in the first half of our module. According to our first parts of the module, what we've learned so far is that script writing is the first step in producing radio materials. It is a guide in which the program will flow for the host and the audience. The script can be prepared in many forms, with the intended audiences in mind, and for this portion of the report, writing for radio may be different from writing in print and in TV, which requires a different practice and mindset. Now, to start off our first presentation in Principle 2, or being informal, according to Webster Dictionary, it is the characteristic of or appropriate to ordinary, casual, or familiar use. But if we go for the context of being informal in radio communication, it means being able to talk in a conversational manner. Talking in a conversational manner is a way to help listeners feel at ease with the host, making them feel more engaged and are able to listen comfortably. According also to Tolston, friendliness attracts listeners to participate. Therefore, being informal is a way for the listener to engage with the radio host, especially if they're listening on what they're talking about. Now, another principle in being informal that we should practice is using first and second person. Using I, we, and us enhances intimacy, making people feel like they are part of the conversation. It helps them immerse in the subject being discussed and not a stranger to the topic. We also need to use contractions if we want to appear more informal, because contractions help shorten words, making people feel more into the conversation. It also adds realism, as most people do talk this way. So, for instance, when you're using you are, we use your. When we use the word they have, or when we use they have, we have to use they've. And if we use cannot, we use can't. So this is just some of the examples we can show people on how we can be more engaging to them by being informal. Basically, um, being informal just means that we are allowing ourselves to feel more intimate with the listener, making them feel like they are talking to a friend. That's just one of the many ways that we can engage with listeners, especially in radio writing. Now, another principle that we're going to talk about for this time is the aim for clarity. The aim for clarity, according to Webster Dictionary is the quality of being easily understood. In the context of radio communication, it is the use of familiar words which will help listeners understand. The easier the listener understands the message being presented, the better they will respond and feel engaged with our program. And experiencing difficulties in understanding can impede the process of information and may dissuade the listener from engaging further. Some of the samples here that I am about to present to you are things that we can do to use familiar words in our aim for clarity. Instead of using currently, we use now. Instead of using discontinue, we use stop, and instead of using exceedingly, we use very. As you can see in the last part of each sample, these are common words that we use even in conversation. Another thing that we can do is to repeat important points or messages. It is important to do so because radio, unlike print, cannot be reread once again. According to Tabbing, radio is transient. It is constantly moving. You cannot go back to what you've heard before because there is no repeat button in radio. Another practice that we can do when we aim for clarity is to eliminate excess words. Eliminating excess words helps us be concise. For instance, past history. Since history is already in the past, we can just remove it and just use history. When we use the word around shape, we can just use the word round because round is already a shape. When we review the year 2001, we can use 2001 instead, removing the year because 2001 is already a year. And less expensive can be transformed to cheaper because cheaper is a lot easier in the ears and it is a lot more easier to understand by most people. Now, basically, this is a very easy topic to discuss, aiming for informality and clarity because this is something that a lot of people can do on their own way because most people communicate with the intention of making people feel comfortable and having the listener engage with what they are talking about. And basically, that is it for my presentation. I hope that you've learned a lot from this. Now, let me tell you about my discussion questions. For these discussion questions, I would like to first ask you to cite an example of a radio host that you like that has an outstanding clarity in tone and enunciation. Please explain why you chose them. For me, I like listening to Pia Hontiveros. Second, with the given two principles, it can be inferred that radio is a mass-friendly medium. In your opinion, how important is radio in development work? That is it for my time. I hope you've learned a lot, and I hope you apply what we've discussed in this part of the learning in your development work. Thank you so much, and God bless.